Maya didn't tell many people she was moving. She liked it that way, clean break, fresh start. After a rough breakup and a year of living with a roommate who couldn't take a hint, she found a one-bedroom apartment in a quiet part of town. It was on the third floor of an old brick building, nothing fancy, but it had charm, big windows, hardwood floors, and neighbors who kept to themselves. She signed the lease on a Wednesday and moved in that weekend. The landlord, Mr. Holbrook, was in his 70s, polite but a little stiff. He lived on the ground floor and handed her the keys with the folded paper of house rules. "Don't prop the front door open," he warned. "And no smoking anywhere on the property." Maya liked the quiet. She was in between jobs, picking up remote freelance work and sleeping in most mornings. She noticed early on how still the building was. No footsteps above her, no parties, not even a TV through the walls. For a building with 6 units, it felt oddly empty. She brushed it off. Quiet was good. Quiet was what she wanted. But after her third night, something started nagging at her. Each morning when she woke up, the chain lock on her door was unlatched. She always locked it before bed. At first, Maya thought she was just being forgetful. She was tired from the move, her sleep schedule was off, and she'd been drinking more coffee than usual to stay alert for freelance deadlines. Still, by the 5th morning in a row, she started paying closer attention. Before bed, she made it a ritual: deadbolt, chain, then test the knob twice. She even snapped a photo with her phone to prove it to herself. Chain locked. Timestamp. She wasn't losing it. The next morning, she checked the photo, chain locked at 11:46 p.m. Then looked at the door chain hanging loose. She stood there staring at it, heartbeat climbing. The deadbolt was still turned, but the chain had been slid off the latch. She lived alone. The only other person with a key was the landlord, Mr. Holbrook. Trying to calm herself, she reasoned maybe it was faulty hardware. Maybe the vibration from the hallway door closing could shake it loose. She went online, searched forums. Some people mentioned old chains loosening on their own. Sounded like a stretch, but she bought a new one anyway. That night, she installed it tight, stiff, and unmistakably secure. In the morning, unlatched. Again. That's when she stopped brushing it off. Maya didn't sleep that night. She left the lights on in the hallway and sat in bed with her phone in her hand listening. Every little sound, the creak of the radiator, the groan of the building settling made her jump. Around 3:30 a.m. she got up and did something she hadn't done since she moved in. She inspected the place like it wasn't hers. Like someone else had been here before her and maybe hadn't truly left. She checked under the sink, the closet, inside the old kitchen cabinets that stuck when they opened. Nothing. But when she got to the hallway coat closet, something clicked. The back panel looked newer than the rest, like it had been replaced. She tapped it and it sounded hollow. The panel wasn't screwed in, just wedged. Maya slid a flathead screwdriver behind it and pried gently. The panel popped free with a soft groan of wood, and behind it was a narrow crawl space. It was dusty, cramped, only about 2 feet deep, lined with insulation and dark wiring. But there was something inside: a small, folded blanket, a plastic water bottle, and an empty energy bar wrapper. It was recent. Someone had been in there, living, or at least hiding. She put the panel back and stepped away, heart in her throat. Then she grabbed her phone and called the police. The cops showed up 20 minutes later. 2 officers, one older, one young, tried to keep it low-key, but Maya could tell they didn't love what they saw. They checked the crawl space, bagged the blanket and wrapper, and asked her to stay with a friend for the night, just in case. No sign of forced entry, nothing stolen, but the fact that the chain lock had been undone? That meant someone had been inside her apartment while she slept. They questioned the landlord, Mr. Holbrook, who insisted no one else had keys and that the building was secure. Only way in is through the front or back doors. And I don't hand out spares, he said, a little too quickly. Maya didn't buy it. Before she left, she asked the officers if they'd checked the building's security cameras. That's when Holbrook finally said it. There aren't any. I've never needed them. Maya packed a bag and crashed on her friend Allie's couch that night. She didn't sleep. Couldn't. Her mind kept looping back to that crawl space and the thought that someone had been hiding just feet from where she lived, cooked, showered. And the worst part? The cops didn't find him. Maya didn't go back to the apartment for 3 days. The police said they'd increased patrols near the building, but without a suspect or evidence of a break-in, there wasn't much more they could do. She considered breaking the lease. But where would she go? Rent was high everywhere, and her savings weren't bottomless. So she did what a lot of people do when they're scared. She tried to be practical. Bought a motion-activated camera for the living room. Installed a second deadbolt. And before she returned, she asked Allie to come with her just in case. The apartment felt different when she walked back in. It wasn't just the paranoia, it was something else. The air had that dry, closed-in quality like it had been undisturbed for a while. Nothing was out of place. Her dishes were still in the rack. Her blanket folded at the edge of the couch. But that night, as Allie slept on the pull-out sofa and Maya lay awake in her bed, they both heard it. Soft footsteps. Slow. Pacing. From above. But Maya lived on the top floor. They both froze. Allie whispered, "Did you hear that?" Maya nodded in the dark, not moving. Her camera hadn't sent any alerts. Her locks were still bolted, but the footsteps continued crossing above the ceiling, then stopping. Silence. The next morning, they went upstairs. Just the roof access door. Locked. And according to Holbrook, nobody had the key but him. The next night, Allie went home. Maya didn't blame her, she'd stayed longer than most would. Maya double-checked every lock, placed a chair under the doorknob, and sat her phone next to her bed with the security app open. Around 2:12 a.m., her phone buzzed. Motion detected, living room. Maya sat straight up. She hadn't heard anything. No footsteps. No creaking floors. But her heart was hammering. She opened the app. The still frame loaded first, just a dim shot of her living room. The camera faced the hallway, angled slightly toward the front door. Then the clip started playing. At first, nothing. Then, movement. From the right side of the frame, just barely, something shifted. A sliver of shadow. Then a head low to the ground. Someone was crawling. Slowly, carefully, staying beneath the camera's line of sight. They moved like they knew the room. The figure paused, waited, then crawled backward out of frame. Maya's throat went dry. She grabbed her keys and left the apartment immediately, barefoot, phone in hand. She didn't even stop to put on shoes. By the time the police arrived, the place was empty. No one in the closets. No sign of forced entry. Crawlspace panel still closed. The only thing the cops found? The chair she'd wedged under the doorknob had been quietly set aside. Maya didn't go back. Not for a week. She stayed at her cousin's place across town and kept checking the camera feed every night. Nothing. Silence. Until the 7th night when she had an idea. She went to the hardware store the next morning, bought a tiny Bluetooth speaker and a second camera, this one disguised in a smoke detector. Then, late that evening, she returned to the apartment. Just for a few minutes. Just long enough to set it up. She placed the speaker inside the crawlspace and mounted the hidden camera on the hallway ceiling, pointing directly at the closet. The plan was simple: play a sound remotely, faint footsteps, like someone walking, and see if anything stirred. She waited until 2 a.m., then tapped play on the sound file. It echoed faintly from inside the crawlspace, slow, muffled footsteps. The hallway feed remained still for a long, long moment. She almost thought it didn't work. Then the closet door opened. Just a crack, and a hand reached out. The fingers felt around the edge of the door, checking, listening, then slowly began to push it open. The figure that emerged was barefoot, shirtless, thin, male, hair greasy and matted. He didn't look around. He walked straight into her kitchen, like he'd done it 100 times before. Maya had the whole thing on video. She called the police again, this time with footage of the man's face, clear as day, as he opened her fridge and took out a bottle of water like he lived there. The hidden camera caught him looking up briefly, eyes scanning the room like he was making sure she wasn't home. Like he knew her schedule. Officers responded fast. Within an hour, they were in the building. Maya waited in a patrol car outside, watching through the window. They didn't find him in the apartment. They found him under it. A narrow maintenance crawl space behind the laundry room had a broken vent that led into the building's main wall. The man had squeezed through it. He'd been living in the building for months, slipping in and out of units, specifically hers, through hidden gaps and maintenance corridors the landlord either didn't know about or didn't care to seal. He didn't have ID. No known address. Just a backpack full of old food wrappers, a screwdriver, and a folded-up copy of her lease agreement. He'd been watching her since before she even moved in. The cops said she was lucky. The guy didn't resist. Barely spoke. Just kept muttering the same thing over and over. She never saw me. Not once. Maya never moved back. She broke the lease, changed her number, and left the city entirely. Sometimes, though, when she's in a hotel room or staying at a friend's, she still checks behind the closet panel. Just to be sure. Because the worst part wasn't that he was in her apartment. It's that for weeks she lived with him and had no idea.